Hello, Crystal Loves Texas family. We are here tonight on kind of a different note. Okay, kind of a different note. I'm sorry, kind of a different note. Yes, we're talking about politics. Of course, that's what we've always
And
been talking
education.
about, and education and everything in between. But tonight we are talking about something that is hitting a little more close to home, and I want to introduce to some and present to others the candidate for District 131, Crystal Dillard, is here tonight. She officially got on the ballot as of last week. So yay!
Thank you, Rebecca.
So the campaign has now, we're in full campaign mode.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Rebecca, you know, and I want to remind people this is Texas House District 131 because a lot of people don't know the difference.
Right.
They don't know the difference. So we've got an entire set of state senators and we've got a set of state representatives.
Mhm.
And I am running for state representative for
She's running for the House, the Texas House.
House of Representatives. That's right.
So, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna jump right into it. And I just want again to thank everybody who tuned in. So, Crystal, please tell me some things about you. Who is Crystal Dillard?
Who is Crystal Dillard? Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say that. First and foremost, I'm a classroom teacher. I'm in the classroom every day with my students. I'm not one of those people who says I am a career educator and I've been out of the education game for the last 25 years. No, I am a classroom teacher currently. I'm a current classroom teacher. I just came from school. I didn't even go home yet. I put on my different little jacket and put on some makeup and came on down here. So I was with my kids as recently as 2 hours ago, and well, 2.5 hours ago. And I'm a Houston native. I was born right here in Houston in District 131. I grew up right around, and this is a landmark that I use. I grew up right around the fire station on Cullen. So everybody knows what that fire station is, right around Cloverland Park,
The
that area.
historic fire
Yes,
station.
fire station number 55. And that's where I grew up. I went to elementary school at J.J. Rose Elementary School. Now, I was one of those students who was right there on the cusp of the minority to majority transfer.
Okay.
So that was right when they really started integrating the schools here in Houston.
That's when busing kind of
That's when busing
Right.
started here in Houston. That's right. And we in the fourth grade, I left Rhodes, had to get on the bus in the third grade, and I had to get on the bus, my sister Kim and I, and ride over to Robert Frost Elementary School, and that was over in the South Park area, and that's where I went to fourth grade. So that was it was interesting because a little third grader getting on the bus. Back then most kids just went to school in their neighborhood schools.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but
they walked or their parents dropped them off.
absolutely. So I am familiar with this district like the back of my hand.
Okay.
And I love to see great things happening there. And I know it is great, but I know that it could be much, much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where did you go to college? Like, what was your major and what brought you to this moment?
Oh my gosh. I went to college at Texas Woman's University in Denton, Texas. And I majored in broadcast journalism. So I went to school to be a sports reporter. And when I graduated, I didn't do my due diligence. When I graduated, I came to the realization that back then we didn't have all of the digital and the streaming stations that we have right now.
Right.
We had ABC, CBS, and NBC.
And that's it.
You had Channel 39.
Okay.
And that was even before Channel 26 came into being. Yes. So you had four.
See, I've always known TV with Channel
Yeah.
26.
She's always known television with cable probably. but I went to school. I mean, I majored in broadcast journalism, and you only had four options. If you wanted to go into that arena, you had to start in what they call a very, very small market.
Okay.
And back then, a small market may have been, and it's nothing about the market, but it's the pay and whether or not you're able to make a living with that pay. So a small market at that time may have been something like a Beaumont or a Huntsville or something like that. And your pay may have been $20,000. And that
For a
was
sports reporter?
that was maybe 25,000 for an anchor
Right.
in those small markets. Yes, and you had to just kind of build your way up. Now, with the advent of streaming
Mhm.
and the cable stations, you've got hundreds of choices.
Exactly.
And you can start out, you can create your own, which my sister and I did later on.
Okay.
But that's how you started back then. And I decided very, very quickly after I graduated that I no longer wanted to be a sports reporter because I wanted to be able to make sure that I was able to eat every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because eating is important.
It is important. It is important.
Okay, and how did that segue you into education? I think that is the segue.
Well, you know what? I was an accidental, I dropped in accidentally to education. And I see that we have some people on already. Yay. Hey, Candace. I accidentally fell into education. When I graduated from college, it was just right in the throes of a recession. This was 1986, and the bottom had fallen out of a lot of things. It was
like when I graduated in
Yeah.
2007.
Yeah, it was almost impossible to go and get a job. I couldn't even get a job as a teacher because they were making the ability to get credentialed, outside of the traditional arena, very, very difficult. So my sister and my mother always told me this when my sister and I were in school. She and one of our very good friends, Kenneth, he passed away recently, but they all of them were taught to get your teaching certification
Right.
when you are in college.
Right.
Just do it. Let that be your minor. And you just have it from that
Right.
point forward. And they said, and it was because of this. You can always get a job. You always have something to fall back on.
And you know
Yes.
what? I look at that now
Yeah.
because, I've heard people say that. Do you think that's a reason why education has gone down the drain as much as it is? You think that's
Well,
part of
I
it?
don't think it. Let me tell you, I don't think it's gone down the drain. But let me tell you. Let me kind of bring myself up to where I am right now.
Okay.
But and at least get to answer your question. Now, your question was, why do you what brought you to where you are right now? I couldn't get any other job. I worked at a makeup counter. Now, I'm a person with a college degree. I worked at a makeup counter. I worked doing makeup for a photographer. And there was just nothing to be had. There was nothing to be had. And people were looking for these really, really strong credentials for jobs, for the entry-level jobs. And, that was their way to just, there were no jobs to be had. So I said, well, let me go and apply to be a substitute teacher. So that's what I did. I went and I applied to be a substitute teacher, and lo and behold, I was being called out every day to different assignments. And one assignment I was called out to, it was a long-term assignment, and it was for a life skills class.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are not familiar with what life skills is, that's going to be the class for students with the severe disabilities. And I found that life skills class is something that I absolutely loved. I stayed in it for about 3 or 4 months until until a permanent teacher was hired. And then I decided to go that's when that was the advent of the charter school,
Right.
early 2000s.
Okay.
So I went to teach at a charter school, and I taught. My major was broadcast journalism, which is basically a writing background in English ELA. So I taught English at a charter school.
Okay.
And I decided to go ahead and get my certification at that point because there was a program through the state of Texas whereby if you committed to teach in a Title I school, that's a school where the kids are have economic disadvantage or economically disadvantaged, then they would pay for your certification if you committed to serve 5 years in that particular type school
Mhm.
after you graduated. So that is what I did, and that's what brought me to education. That's what brought me to where I am right now. And as far as history, Rebecca, I've always been a history buff. So I find history extremely, extremely interesting.
Right.
So that's what kind of brought me to becoming a history teacher.
Okay.
Now, a union steward at my school, just watching the types of things that people have to deal with that aren't necessarily equitable. If anything, you want what you are doing, and when you put in a day's work, you want to be respected in a manner that you should as a professional.
Right.
And when I began to see some things kind of falling through the cracks in terms of how teachers can be um, devalued and discounted, not all the time, but sometimes by certain individuals, that made me want to make sure that I align myself with a union.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. So now, what made you specifically decide to run for District 131? What was your fork in the road? Because you had ran 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
You mean this time? What made me run this time?
What or anytime,
Okay.
but what made you just decide to run, period? Because this is your second go around.
Yes.
So what made you decide to say, you know what, I want to just throw my hat in the ring? Because you threw your hat in the ring with an incumbent, and now you're
Yes.
throwing your hat in the ring in an open seat.
Well, let me tell you this, Rebecca. I was raised by a single mother, not by any choice of our own. I lost my father when I was 6 years old. My sister was 8 years old to skin cancer. And my mother had to jump in with both feet and decide at 36 years old that I'm going to figure it out how to be a productive and successful single mother and do what I need to do to get these girls to where they need to be as productive, successful, contributing citizens.
Right.
And you know, that is the type of grit that was instilled into me by my mother. And she was the type of person that always said, my sister has a saying about this, but my mother always said, there is absolutely nothing that you can't do.
Right.
I was raised like that as a young African American girl.
Unwavering belief.
Yes, and you've seen it. But I was, as a young African American girl growing up in the 70s and 60s, to have that type of instilled in me that there is absolutely nowhere that you cannot go, and there's nothing that you can't do. I didn't realize it then, but that was not necessarily the par for the course. That's not what a lot of my peers were being told.
Right.
They were being told, you're going to be held back from this, and you're going to be held back from this. But my mother said, absolutely not. If you can dream it, do it, and I'm going to help you do it. And she's always been there.
Yeah.
She's always been there helping me.
Okay. So what made you decide specifically to run? You said that run 131, because you could have run for city council, you could have run for
I
precinct judge.
Oh, yeah.
You could have run for anything, basically.
You know what? Because I know that in that particular manifestation of legislation, I could really be able to change the trajectory of what my history classes are.
Okay.
And what I'm teaching. The thought of a history curriculum changing to not reflect what is historically accurate
Yeah.
absolutely makes my blood boil. And if I can be part of making sure that that doesn't happen, or if it happens, it's only on the books for maybe 1 or 2 years, and then we get it off of there because we've gone back to something that we know is going to be accurate. That's what made me run. That's the way that I can affect my students and my community in the best manner.
Good job. Okay. So, speaking of that, so now we're here. Crystal is now a candidate for House District 131 for the state of Texas. Um, so what is your platform? What are some of the things that you will be running on?
Well, really, I don't have a laundry list of things.
Okay.
There are only 4 things that I would really like to see happen. And just like in real life, Rebecca, I think you have to be able to triage things.
Oh, of course.
Depending on what is most impactful at a certain time.
And advantageous.
Yes. One of the things is accessibility. And that means accessibility of for students to a free
Mhm.
and proper and good and sound education,
Right.
Accessibility for families to safe and affordable housing.
Yeah.
Accessibility, wraps itself around a lot of things. I remember this as a teacher. And I am a professional, even though others out there may decide that teaching is no longer a professional arena, but we are professionals. And I will say this, I remember this was only about 6 or 7 short years ago. I was getting ready to buy my house. And it would have been, even in District 131, it was almost cost prohibitive for me to buy a house as a teacher because of the price of housing. And if it had not been for a public servants grant for teachers and firemen and police officers
First responders.
and first responders, that gave me a grant of $21,000 for a down payment assistance. It would have almost been impossible for me to do that, or I may have had to do some really juggling of finance to do it, and it shouldn't be that way.
Mhm.
We should know that we're going to be able to find a safe and sound place to live in our communities without wondering how we're going to be able to make those ends meet.
Okay. So what are some other things?
Actually, accountability. I think it's so important that we hold people and structures and government entities accountable for what they are supposed to provide for citizens.
Mhm.
And accountability these days, it's shot to heck. No one on the state level.
I think you can say hell.
I don't want to say that. Well, you know what I meant. But it's really shot to heck. And no one wants to be responsible for anything. No one wants the buck to stop with them. It's all the way to the very top. When you've got to answer to the people who have put their faith in you. It's just not there. That buck is passed and passed and passed. And it didn't used to be like that.
Okay, so how would you hold accountability, which I also think it's amazing because you rarely hear the term accountability from politicians.
Yeah.
That's almost like apples and oranges.
Yeah.
So in your seat, how would you hold politicians accountable? I mean, how, because at that point, you're the politician.
And you know what? even before I hold a seat, I made sure that I have led a life that is absolutely 100% transparent. Okay. And one way that I do that is after the last time I ran for office, you and other people said, Crystal, keep your podcast.
Yeah.
Keep your podcast. Let people see exactly who you are, the types of things that you consider important, the kinds of things that are challenges in the community, how you would address these challenges. even down to the types of people and entities that I bring onto my podcast. They're not just, they are things that, yes, sometimes we champion things that are entertainment related, but that are also historically and fundamentally important. Houston Ebony Opera Guild,
Right.
things like that. But also, we try to align ourselves with different entities that are going above and beyond
Right.
to help people.
To get those resources to the
That's
community.
right. The Coalition for Barrier Free Living. We had their entire team come on in a 5-week program that we have that we sponsored, showing people exactly where they could find those resources if they were in need.
Right.
And the thing about it is, which was absolutely mind blowing to me, is that most of those resources that they came on and told people about were free resources, resources that people didn't have to pay for. But they were putting themselves in a position of being an advocate for these individuals where they would step forward and help walk them through the red tape of getting access.
So what I'm hearing you saying, transparency for you in your seat, just to clarify for the audiences if they have any questions. Transparency, what I'm hearing you say is transparency for you looks like getting resources to the community.
And transparency for the lawmaker is putting yourself in a position where you are accountable and that you are taking steps to communicate what you're doing to your constituents all the time. It's free for me to do a podcast.
Right.
I turn on a computer and I have a Facebook page or a YouTube channel or an Instagram page. And all people have to do is follow that.
Okay.
And they can see exactly what's going on. Now, it's all you can't be everything to everyone, but you sure can try and let them know what's going on and what they can be expecting. Even some of the things that they may not need to expect because it may be a reason that it cannot happen at this time. But at least be transparent. Let people know what's going on and don't run from it.
Okay, speaking of running from, the Democrats and the Republicans right now have this buzzword, affordability, right? And you kind of touched on affordability, talking about the housing market.
Right.
But there are people that's running to the word affordability, and then there are people that are running from affordability. So where are you? I think I know where you are on the spectrum, but I don't want to, I want you to be able to articulate that. What is what part of, first of all, let me ask this. What part of the spectrum of affordability are you on?
Well, you know what?
Are you running to it or running from it?
Well, let's define exactly what, affordability is really kind of an arbitrary word. And what I mean by that is it really depends on who you are, where you stand, what your station is in life as to what you consider to be affordable.
Okay.
Now, to me.
So the way that affordability is defined right now in the political sphere is cheaper electric bills, grocery prices, healthcare, all of those would be under, because Americans, and not only Americans, Texans, let me bring it home locally. Texans are complaining that these prices on electricity, groceries, healthcare are becoming astronomical.
Okay, let me jump back in there and say, and I'm going to reiterate this. It absolutely depends on where you are, what place you sit in as to what you consider affordable. And that's the kicker right there. That's the monkey wrench that's thrown in. Because if I am making $100,000 or $125,000 or $150,000 a year, that's my per household income, then it may be affordable for me to access housing that's in the $450,000, $500,000 range. But if my combined household income is $56,000, and that's with two people working or two or more people working, then affordability takes on a completely different definition.
Well, I think in this particular context that I'm speaking of.
Yeah, let me finish. Okay, so when you have and that's going to be the average household, not the one that's above 150,000. It's going to be that's going to be the average household. So we need to make sure that there is housing in place. It doesn't always have to be a home to purchase, because some people really don't want the responsibility of that. Many do, but some don't. But let's have rental properties, and properties that can be leased, and properties even that can be leased to own, that are in that price range, so that people can actually build a life and a living, and build a community in these areas where affordable housing is going to be. And we can see families begin to reinvest in areas that have been dormant for so long. Over in 131, I was speaking to someone about this the other day, Rebecca. Over in 131, actually it was a precinct chair, and what he was saying is that the houses, for instance, like the neighborhood where you live, that started out as a neighborhood for young families.
Yeah.
The little kids, and they went right across the street to the elementary school across the bayou. That was, what was the name of the elementary school?
Reynolds.
No, not Reynolds, the one right there on the bayou. It turned into Carnegie Vanguard later on.
Oh,
but
Carnegie.
Carnegie Elementary, that's right. And but what happens is that as the children age and they grow up, younger families don't necessarily move back in, because we have to admit, at a certain point in time, there were people, I'm going to say the 80s, the 80s and the 90s, people weren't rushing to come back into our areas and to buy homes.
Well, that was a lot of,
The
reasoning.
Exactly. But the thing about it is, there were some who were, but the vast majority, they didn't want to, they considered success to be able to move out of that area. And now they're wishing that they kept those homes over there, because you see the kind of construction, you see the type of renovation that's going on over there. But we need to be able to keep housing in the, in the context of a house that can be purchased for in the low 100s. And even with a 30-year mortgage, it would be great if we didn't have to have a 30-year mortgage, a 20-year mortgage, 50.
Oh, well, now they was talking about having a 50-year
mortgage. Yeah, but to be able and Rebecca, the thing about it is, the houses, that the interest rate, it's 100% arbitrary. It depends on what a group of people decide it should be at this point. Those houses have not changed at all. Where I live right now, my townhouse, I bought that townhouse for $120,000. That townhouse now, 7 years later, is valued at over $200,000. The house hasn't changed. The property hasn't changed. Nothing has changed except the times and an arbitrary interest rate. And we've got to be able to revisit that, put some type of cap on that, if we want to be able to have an America where people can actually experience the American dream and home ownership.
Okay. So with the high cost of, and I guess this goes back not only to the housing, but the high cost of education,
Yes.
the high cost of healthcare, everything is becoming more expensive. People's paychecks are getting less, but things are getting more expensive.
Yeah.
Is there a way for you to go to Austin and represent the community on 131 and to see if there are things that can be done to lower these costs? Because this is not just a national thing, this is a state thing, because this is where laws are made and laws are passed.
And local.
And local laws are passed and made.
We got allergies. I'm sorry, guys.
In order to live. So is there I just
can it be done on the state level? Can those kind of decisions be done?
Well, I think, well, can they?
You know what? Absolutely they can, because a lot of it has to do, a lot of the housing doesn't necessarily come down from the national level.
No,
a lot of that does. Yeah, a lot of it has to do with local and state entities working in tandem with one another, identifying areas that may be blighted areas, and going in and doing redevelopment there and making it attractive for young families to want to come into and to live and want to raise their kids. But I had an event at um, a home on this past Sunday. It was one of my fundraising events, and I had a lot of people come in from 131. And one thing that I wanted them to do was sit down and talk to me about the things that they were concerned about.
Get out of here. Your
Yes.
fundraiser wasn't champagne and photo ops.
Oh my gosh. Rebecca, well, you know me.
$40 plates.
No. I had those constituents come in and sit down and bring me a list of the kinds of things that they see that are the challenges in their neighborhoods, that are the challenges in their area, that are things that they have been concerned about. And put them on the table. Let's look at it. Let's see how those things can be addressed. And a lot of those things actually, first of all, like we said before, you got to triage them. You can't do everything at the same time altogether. So, a lot of those things, if you have a person that is willing to work in tandem with your local and county and state entities working all together, these types of things can be developed. Affordable housing, rates through private companies, and that in tandem with national programs, coupled so that people can be able to afford and have down payment assistance on certain things. And I think people are very willing to do what it takes because they want their own kids to see them achieve the American dream. Because when you can do it, and your kids watch that, those are the kids that strive to have more and to do better.
Okay. So Texas is a red state. Now we're going to shift our focus a little bit to voting.
Yes.
Texas is a red state. What do you say to your constituents in 131 who are very politically astute?
Right.
What do you say to them like, Crystal, I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you're saying.
Yes.
I vouch for what you're saying. But you are going up against a giant. And what I mean by that is, right now, and for the past, I'm 42?
30 years at least.
For the last 30 years, and in some cases, my entire life.
Right.
You've only had you might as well say, you've only had a one-party rule in the state of Texas.
Yeah, that's true. And Rebecca, you know what?
So what do you tell your constituents that say, hey, Crystal, I hear you, I agree, and all of that is wonderful. But we have a one-party rule in Texas, and you might as well say it for the sake of argument, a one-party rule that is very honoring when it comes to change, when it comes to people when it comes to working against the very people that they supposed to represent regardless of party. What do you say to those people?
It's very simple.
Or your constituents, I'm sorry.
I say, read the room. And what that means is that look around you at what's happening right now, and you see walls falling down right now around those people who are in charge. Walls, I mean, things tumbling down. What many perceive to be an unbreakable barrier is falling apart from the bottom up. And that's a good thing, simply because that's showing that no one is impermeable, okay? And it also shows that when you have those who we've entrusted with our livelihood and to be making the very best decisions for us, show us, and they've shown us better than they've told us, when they show us that our interest is not important, when we have situations where we have anyone at the very top, who can arbitrarily say, I want to attach people's ability to eat and feed babies and feed the elderly, to something that I want done that's a pet project of mine. I want to attach that ability to that so I can literally starve them out.
Right.
When you have that kind of situation, that's the kind of thing that even people who are aligned with that ideology had to take a step back and say, wait a minute, I don't like what I'm seeing here. And you're beginning to see the fallout right now, Rebecca, because you're beginning to see some people saying, I don't want to align myself like this anymore. And the way that they're doing that is not running again for their seats.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And, you know, if it's one thing that is consistent about history, history is always going to roll forward. It's not going to stop. It is dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's dynamic, we see exactly what's happening. And it was interesting that 2 years ago, an ally that was the most staunch ally that you could probably find to the administration right now was the first one to say, stop, I'm out. I'm out. I saw a side of that person that I didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? That shows me that there is some humanity in people, even when it seems like they sold their humanity.
Mm-hmm. So, my next question is, as a classroom teacher, and everybody who votes or who goes, all voters want to know,
Right.
how does your background align to what you want to do in office? So basically, what I'm asking
Mm-hmm.
is, how is you as a classroom teacher? What skill set are you bringing to the seat of 131? As in, I'm sorry, let me slow down. What skill set are you bringing as an educator to the seat of District 131? So, how are those skills transferable? What can you get done? Because, like you said, you are a teacher, and most people kind of look at teachers as like, oh, they're just a teacher. So,
You gotta let's be clear. Teachers teach our doctors. Teachers teach our attorneys.
right.
Teachers teach our politicians. Teachers teach our philosophers. Okay. Education and teaching is the spring from which all those other professions flow.
The root of our profession.
Make no mistake about that. So when you say a skill set, the skill set that any teacher brings to the table is going to be aligned most perfectly for being able to be diplomatic, to being able to be authoritative when you need to be authoritative, to being able to balance and counterbalance positions and ideas when that is before us too. And I think that every skill set that a teacher has is perfectly aligned to the decision making realm of being a legislator or being a state senator or being a lawmaker of any kind.
Right. Because you hear that lawyers make the best politicians, right? You hear that statement all the time. Like, lawyers are the ones.
But you know what? I don't even hear it that much. And let me tell you what.
I hear it all the time.
This is what I hear. The lawyers are the ones who run for office.
Yeah.
Okay, not necessarily that they make the best.
Well, I've heard the best. I've heard that the lawyers usually make the best politicians.
Okay.
So this is why I'm asking.
I haven't heard that. I just haven't.
Oh, I have.
Yes.
Frequently.
Okay.
So my question is, because you're not an attorney,
Mm-mm.
you're not a lawyer.
Oh.
This is why I was asking about your skill set as an educator coming to the seat.
Yeah.
Because, I wanted to show people that it's not only lawyers and attorneys that
And and the thing about it is, Rebecca, I think that it is so important that we begin to dismantle anything that we have built up in our psyche as the way something is supposed to be, because that's what brought us to the place where we are right now. What we've got to do is step away from that and look at some different perspectives, some different alternatives to be able to turn our society around, turn this democracy around, and get it back on track.
I agree.
The lawyers have screwed things up. No offense to lawyers. But you know, not all lawyers. There's some great lawyers out there, and I'm related to many of them. But here's the thing: you're going to need a good counterbalance of all of those different types of people, and the personalities, and the um, the skills and the experience that they bring to the table. That's how you're going to get your best decisions out there, and that's how you're going to get more people to engage in the political process when they can look at those rooms and say, you know what, that looks like our society.
Mhm.
That's when people are going to engage and want to be a part of the system and not draw away from it.
So my next question is, how do you get millennials and Gen Z, especially Gen Z? How do you get them engaged in the political process because of everything that is going on right now? You see a lot of them that are now tapping in and tapping in strong because Mandani had a huge
Yeah.
wave of Gen Z supporters, which got him into the mayoral seat.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing in Miami, it was a lot of young women
Right.
that turned the tide
Yeah.
in the Miami, where they have their first Democratic mayor
Right.
in over 30 years.
Absolutely.
So you do see where Gen Z is making the strive to to be basically the token. I don't want to say token vote, but they are the turnout vote that's putting Democrats back on the map. And I hope y'all are paying attention to that, Democrats.
Okay.
So, but for the rest of their generation who may not be so engaged, because it is a 50-50 split. The data has shown that it's a 50-50 split with Gen Z. You have 50% of Gen Z that are 150% engaged into the political process.
Yeah.
And then you have the other 50% who are totally tuned out to it. So, and dare I say the same maybe for millennials, since we're a little bit older and have a little bit more life experience, I think we're a little bit more tuned in than we probably have ever been since the Obama years. So how do you get them, how do you get Gen Z and millennials to more than 50% to tap into the political process?
Well, you know what? I don't think it's a Gen Z and millennial issue. It's an issue of when it begins to, when the flood waters begin to rise in front of my house.
Okay.
And what I mean by that here, when things that are happening in the world, in politics, in decision making, begin to affect people personally. When that happens, when the flood gets to my house, then I need to go ahead and start making a plan of how I'm going to escape, if it's going to be through or what I'm going to do next.
Right.
If it's going to be go up on the roof, if it's going to be to flag down a boat coming by. But people, for the most part, I think it's human nature.
Yeah.
People can be very, very comfortable when they're comfortable, when nothing is affecting them personally.
Mhm.
They don't have a lot of movement.
Right.
But when it begins to affect them personally, then that's when you're going to see the movement. That's when you're going to see people begin to mobilize.
Right.
That's when you're going to see them begin to do things that are going to affect an outcome for years to come. And it just so happened that for a long time, come on, let's be clear. During the Obama administration, with for a while with President Biden, with the exception of him having to try to straighten things out coming out of COVID, people were pretty comfortable. You know,
It's because they did their job.
they did their job. That's right. but here's the thing. Now, the entire goal is to be able to make people as uncomfortable as possible and make them fearful and make them stressed out and make things chaotic.
And you know what's so crazy? I was reading on Michelle Williams, who's also running for state representative.
127.
127.
Yeah.
Not to take away from Crystal,
No.
but she had a post up on her page and it said that for the first time in 1994, the Democrats have filled every single slate on the ballot.
Mhm.
A lot of and the reason this is important, guys, just for like, let me just take 2 seconds to say.
Yeah.
The reason this is important because everybody talks about how oh well, Texas is not a non-voting state; it's a heavily gerrymandered state.
Yes.
In my opinion, it's both. It's a heavily gerrymandered state, and it's also a non-voting state.
Absolutely.
But one of the biggest problems that you had in Texas, you had a lot of places where people didn't think that they could win.
So they didn't even throw their hat in the ring.
So they didn't even throw their hat in the ring. A lot of these people are in office simply because they didn't have an opponent.
That's right. And it's different now.
Right.
Yeah.
They have run unopposed
Right.
for so long. So it was almost like there was no need for almost an election. If you don't have nobody running against you, you just
It was in ceremony only.
right. So, but now that's not the case anymore. Now it's the case where every single seat in the state of Texas, whether it's a school board seat, city council seat,
Challenge.
state
Right.
seat, senate seat, all the way up to the governor, all the way up to the governor's mansion,
Yeah.
is being challenged.
And that's such a good thing. You know, if let me tell you why it's a good thing, Rebecca.
And because people are no longer comfortable.
Yeah. And when people are challenged, that forces people to do their job. That forces people to earn their keep.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
I don't think John Cornyn, for the love of God, he's run unopposed.
At least 25 years. Yeah. Yeah.
Not even having a Democratic challenge.
Right.
It was kind of like, okay. So now you have a situation to where you have challenges now. Democrats are stepping up to the plate and saying, you know what, no, something has to give.
That's right.
So I wonder how this is going to turn Texas. I've always thought Texas was blue. And the reason I say that, because if you look at the data of the number of people that live here and then the number of registrants because here in Texas, you can't
in the larger counties.
Right. Here in Texas, it's only Democrat or Republican.
Right.
There is no independent. You can't register as an independent in Texas. You either register as a Republican or a Democrat. So, I said all of this to say this: for the first time, they have competition. And now we will actually see whether or not Texas is a true red state. I feel like.
Well, and you know what? Here's the thing. I think that the situation may be different if we did not have a person who is sitting at the top of the country right now, who has really been so abrasive to everyone. And that's not simply the Democrats. I mean, who has actually done things to really, really upset and place into turmoil people's livelihoods across the spectrum. And if nothing else, that is a show that there are certain people and certain personality traits that are just sociopathic, and they don't care about what happens. I don't even know. And when someone is a sociopath, they don't even know that they're hurting anyone's feeling situation. They don't care about it as long as it serves their need at that time. That's right.
Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit, talking about education. I know,
and we want to throw in a couple of candidates too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to switch gears just for a little bit before we get to our comments. Education.
Yes.
There was this week, 3 more school districts are being taken over by the state in addition to HISD, which we had said from the very beginning that was going to happen. We said that once the largest school district in the state of Texas was taken over, that it wasn't going to be anything for any other districts to be taken over. If HISD was not safe, no district in the state is safe. Now we're seeing the fallout of that, right? We have 3 districts now this week, 3 that will be taking over in January. They're not even waiting until August. They're waiting. They are taking over in about 3 or 4 weeks. Crystal,
Yes.
why do you think this is happening?
I believe it is a last ditch effort to grab and disrupt public education. I think that the party that is in charge right now in Texas, I believe they can very well see the writing on the wall. Okay, and we can see the writing on the wall all over the country. Okay, and meaning that if we don't try to grab this and do something now and shake it up so that so the egg is broken so you can't put the shell back together, then if we don't do it now, we'll never get to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think it also has something to do with indoctrination? Because I'm hearing that's part of it too.
Well, you know what? In order to indoctrinate, you have to have your grasp on something long enough. To be very honest with you, I don't think that this particular regime is going to be able to have their grasp on things with as independent of thinkers as we tout ourselves to be in Texas. That's one of the things that we throw up as being one of our best assets. We're independent. You can't control us and tell us what to do. We know how we want to do things, and we're going to do it our way. Okay? The independent thought process.
But
Yes.
we're talking about schools
Yes.
with children.
Yes. Yes.
So because we're talking about schools with children, do you think with the changing of the curriculum, the taking over of the districts, now teachers are going to be forced to teach whatever the state says it needs to be taught? Does that still stand?
Absolutely not. And let me tell you why, Rebecca. I think it would be something to be very, very afraid of if this were 10 or 15 years ago. And let me tell you why. Because we all know that children don't get the majority of what they learn from their books in school. There's something called the internet. There's something called the World Wide Web that is so much more entertaining and that draws people to it, that children are going to find a way to get to. You cannot keep children from learning certain things when it's out there. A child is going to pick up a phone before they pick up a book. Let's just be honest, okay? You can't keep people from experiencing other people and other cultures and making their own decision because you want to not put it in a book. That's antiquated thinking. If you think that that's the way that people are getting their information now, I think that you are going to have to come full circle and think of another way if you want to try to fully indoctrinate someone to something.
Okay. One on that same subject piece, there are some laws that have been, and then we're gonna get on Candace, I promise.
And Chris.
And Chris.
Hey, Chris.
So there have been laws that have been passed,
Mm-hmm.
bills that have been passed that go into effect this week.
Yes.
Some of them are the trans bathroom bills.
Yep.
That's one thing that comes to mind. When now they're trying to get Turning Point USA into all of the schools in Texas, even the predominantly Black high schools and Hispanic schools. Because your governor got on TV today, for those of you who have not watched the bully pulpit of Greg Abbott today, he got, this week, I saved some brain cells for you and watched it for you. He is demanding and he is putting $90 million or more, but his cap right now is at $90 million to make sure that Turning Point USA, which is a group that's antithetical to any type of progression, using young people, Gen Z and Gen Alpha that's coming up, putting in every single high school in the state of Texas, even high schools that are predominantly Hispanic, predominantly Black. He said it does not matter. Every single high school in the state of Texas is going to have chapter of Turning Point USA.
That's the proposition. Let's be clear. That's the proposition, okay? Just like with the prayer on the wall, okay? You're gonna have multiple challenges in court before that goes into effect. I believe that the regime will have turned before any of that goes into effect. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I think that it's just that disdainful to enough people here now. You don't have enough people who prescribe to that ideology of trying to make sure that everyone believes exactly the way that I believe. Not enough people prescribe to that to be able to try to push that onto Texans like that. Look at the demographic of Texas now. You know, it's not the same as it was even 20 years ago.
So I'm asking, not as a constituent, because I wouldn't be a constituent,
Mhm.
but I'm asking as a constituent of, I guess, Texas, would you be committed if you go to Austin in January of 2026? Would you be committed? My number's mixed up. Would you be committed?
27.
20,
That's okay, but that's okay.
would you be committed to stopping or being a stopping stone from that happening for your constituents?
Let me be very clear, and I want everybody who is listening to hear me well on this. I can't stop anything, but you can. And the way that you can do it is to fill out that voter registration card. Make sure that you show up at your municipal elections, at your state elections, and at your national elections. Because if that is the measuring stick and that is the tool, the only tool that we've been given in this country in order to stop an injustice from happening, and it is, the vote is what we've been given. If you allow that to happen, shame on you. I have one vote as a person. I can explain to you all the reasons why you would be remiss to allow that just to roll over and come into existence. I would be remiss not to tell you that, but you can stop it.
Okay. So let's get Candace and some questions.
And Chris.
And Chris, I'm sorry. I can't see from over there, y'all. So
I'm sorry, I'm Rebecca, and I'm gonna turn this over to you, Rebecca, so you can see. Ooh, good questions.
okay.
And I think we got about 4 minutes.
We can go just a little bit longer.
4 minutes.
Okay.
We're gonna try to keep it on time. Okay.
Try. What is your plan to attack quality jobs within the district and not just in other parts of Houston?
Quality jobs. So I'm going to imagine that she means the types of jobs that are well-paying jobs that people can build and make careers out of.
Yeah.
And I think that one way that we can to do that, you know, Rebecca, I was on 1230 KCOH, is that correct? Is it 1230? I think that's it.
Yeah.
KCOH this morning for Diversity of Thought show with Lydia Flanagan. And one thing that Paris Ely asked me was the exact same thing. How can we make sure that we get good job training and jobs that are going to be jobs and careers that people can build up on? And here's one thing that I said, ladies and gentlemen, one thing we've got to look at. Let's look at what we have in place right now that are things that we can build up on. Why keep trying to build another mousetrap when we've got a mousetrap that's usable, that we can put a little bit of effort into and make it better? And one of those things is some of the job training programs that we have. Rebecca, we've had Damian Walker here on the show on several occasions, and he works in tandem with SARE Jobs for Progress.
Yeah.
Where you have jobs for young people and people who have been justice impacted to be able to train for jobs that are very good paying, welding, AC repair, mechanics, several good forklift operating, several very good paying jobs that people can train for free. These are programs that are out there already. Let's make sure that we make the most, and I'm going to use that word exploit, and exploit those things that are already out there before we put more on top of those. When we can make those work as well as they can, then the things that are not there, let's try to see how we can get those in there. when Dr. Prieta came on a few months back, and she told us about some of the training programs for free
Right.
that are available at Houston City College South that people just don't know about.
Oh, for those of you
Yes.
that is formerly known as Houston Community
Yes,
College.
yes, I had to make sure I clean that up. But people need to be able to know that these things are existent and they can take advantage of them. So, Candace, as far as good jobs being out there and appropriate training and training in positions that are going to help people be able to make a living, feed their families, and go forward, those things are there. Let's do everything we can to make those the best that they can be, and then see where we're lacking.
Okay, and then to do a follow-up question with Candice, what does a safe community look like in House District 131? And how will you balance policing with investment in youth jobs and mental health?
Okay, you got about 4 questions there.
No,
We got about 4 questions there all wrapped into one, but I would say this, and I will answer it. I'm going to answer it in one way because this affects all of those things that Candace was talking about. A safe community, to me, is going to be a community that is attractive for people to want to move into for several reasons.
Mhm.
Because the crime rate is low, because the neighbors are looking out for each other, because there is city services that make sure the neighborhood is kept clean.
Right.
There is affordable housing there that people, even if it's rental housing, townhouses, or housing for purchase, that people want to be able to come and move into. Let's make sure that we've got accessible and nicely maintained parks. Being a place that people want to be is going to be what makes a safe community. And when safety is there, when people want to be there, people have a tendency to want to look out for each other.
Right. And then Chris says that she understands what you were saying about how kids now go from cell phones to internet, but she's also, and I think this is a comment, she said, but it's a lot of misinformation on the internet as well. So how do you come, and I guess she's asking, how do you combat that?
Well, the thing about it is, as far as the internet is concerned, there's no way that individuals can necessarily combat the internet.
Mm.
There is a host of things out there for people to be able to search and get information on. What is important when we present to our kids is that we present the type of information on the internet and show them how to access the kind of information that is reliable information, truthful information, historic information. And the internet can be a great teacher, but the internet can also be your worst enemy if you're not sure how to use it. So I think one thing as teachers and as parents that we need to make sure that we're doing is showing our students and our children and even adults, even our seniors, how to safely navigate the internet.
Mm. So this is last night. We're getting ready to come to a close. But before this, Crystal was not expecting this. But I just thought about it like 2 minutes ago. Let's do a 5-question lightning round, okay?
And we also have to make sure that we tell people how they can donate to my campaign.
Right.
Yes. And how they can visit our
We
website.
are. I promise.
Yes.
I promise. So when I said lightning round, it's either this or that, okay? The question, I'm gonna give you a question.
I'm gonna let you ask it, then I'm gonna decide if it's this or that.
No.
No. Go ahead and ask me. Shoot, Rebecca. Shoot.
Okay, so this is more, we coming down off the politic heavy,
Okay.
government. Because now I think people want to get to know you as a person.
They haven't gotten to know me yet.
So we're just gonna ask some just fun,
Yeah.
questions just to get to know Crystal Dillard a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, does Crystal prefer to eat seafood or Chinese food?
Seafood.
Okay. Is Crystal a
And I
night?
even eat the bottom feeders.
Oh, she does.
I do.
Does Crystal prefer being a night owl or early bird?
Oh my gosh, a night owl.
Okay.
I don't go to sleep until 2 o'clock. And I gotta get up to teach in the morning. I gotta be there at 7:30. Yeah.
Does Crystal prefer does she prefer to go out or travel?
Oh, travel. For sure. All these questions that Rebecca is asking me, I'm laughing and she's laughing because we are total opposites, but we're around each other all the time. How does that work?
Um, nice restaurant or okay, no.
Mom and pop. I didn't even let you finish that one. I didn't let you finish that one. When I go to different cities, I want to go into the area where the people live and ask them, okay, where do y'all eat? What's around here? And let them tell me that. So I'm not going to necessarily be at the 5-star. Not that I won't go to a 5-star, but I want to go to the mom and pop places. I want the local fare.
Okay. Uh, Chris asked, lipstick, nude or red?
Oh, red.
And this is the last question I asked,
Yes.
bonus question. Thank you, Chris, for giving me my number
Chris.
5. But my bonus question, now this is not a this or that. This is a one answer.
Yes.
Who is winning the state district 131 seat?
Well, me, of course. Me, of course. And let me tell you, let me put a disclaimer on that. It's not because I don't think that there are people out there with a lot to offer, but I believe that at this juncture in time, with the kinds of things that are going on, I think that my personality and my determination and my flexibility are things that would lend themselves most appropriately at this juncture in time to that position.
Okay, so now Crystal, tell everybody now we're winding down for real. So tell everybody where they can donate. If they want to volunteer for your campaign, where can they go to volunteer?
Absolutely.
And
All
what
of those good things.
or what are some upcoming things that you plan on doing that you would want the people to get involved in?
You know, Rebecca, first of all, I want to say this. My mother always told my sister and I that there's nothing that you can't do. And my sister says, this is how she said it. If you want to do something, you do it and you make that decision and you figure out along the way. Okay? Don't let something stop you because you don't know how to do it or you're not sure how to go about it. And my sister said, well, Crystal, that basically means that you jump out of the plane and build the parachute going down. So that's, which is kind of true. And we've always done that, my sister and I. We had a men's clothing company for a super athletic physique. And it was an international clothing company. And we had that for 5 or 6 years. However, it was an internet-based company that was before the internet really caught on. So it made it more difficult. But then my sister and I decided that here in Houston, we wanted to have a inspirational urban television network where we could showcase all the things that were good in our community in an inspirational way. We had different churches, different organizations that came on and had programming. And it again was an internet-based company before there were streaming channels. So we were always a little bit ahead of our time, but the fact that no one had done something before has never been something that has stopped us. I'm very glad that I had the kind of mother that I have, because only because of her do we have that type of vision and thought process that we can do something. And we never are gonna take we're always going to take the road less traveled. Mm-hmm. Not because we necessarily want to, but it just kind of happens that way. But one thing I can say, Rebecca, is this. What I want people to know, and I've been told this before, recently, that it would be very difficult for you to win an election like this if you don't have a whole lot of money. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm a teacher. I'm not starting out with a whole lot of money, but we're going to get to where we need to be because that's what we do.
Right.
And I need your support. I need for you to go to either my ActBlue page on my website, or you can go to my GoFundMe page. They are structured for campaigns, and you can give your donation at one of those two places. some people actually don't necessarily want to give at a donation site that is partisan.
Right.
So because of that, and that's okay. That's okay. But if you believe in what I'm doing, if you believe in what my vision is, and if you believe that I'm going to do whatever is in my power to make sure that I look out for the best interests of these teachers and people who are sitting in my position and the people who affect the world by imparting knowledge into people, you better believe I'm going to do exactly what I need to do that. And I can't do it without your support. I cannot do it without your donation. So I'm asking you to please go to the one of those two entities and make your donation. Rebecca, the $5 and the $10 donations, they add up into $1,000 donation.
They do.
If you have a, so don't worry about whether or not you can make a huge donation, but we'll make sure that we put those donation links in that chat so that it'll be easy for you to find it. And if you still have questions that you want me to answer, I have no problem. I'm an open book. I have no problem answering those. Put them in the chat. I'll go into it and answer it.
Okay. Also, yeah, because
And my website.
yeah, campaigns don't run off air.
And good thoughts. They don't run off good thoughts. We need money to keep this to keep this moving forward. We've got some great people. We've got some great goals, and we know we can reach these goals. But we do need those donations to keep this moving forward. So if you go to Crystal Dillard 4 Texas.com, Crystal Dillard, the numeral 4, Texas, TEXAS.com, you can see who I am and what I'm about. You can even see my family in there. And my friends and the people that keep me going. But I would love for you to find out more about me. Please go there and do that. And Rebecca, we've got some things coming up, some fundraisers coming up, some really fun fundraisers coming up towards the end of the year. And we're going to be giving more information about that next week.
Right. Also, she is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
YouTube.
So she's on all major platforms. I'm
I
saying
am.
it again. She's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yes.
So please, please click like and share anything that we have posted
Yeah.
up. I know I post a lot of things on a daily basis. So please share it out
Yes.
to your
Friends.
to your friends list, to
Yes.
your groups, to your counterparts. We're going to also be having other people come on the show that are running for different positions.
Yes.
You get to know those
Candidates too.
get
That's
those
right.
candidates too. So this is a progressive, moving campaign, and we're just excited about it. And I know Crystal is extremely excited about
I
it.
am.
I'm proud of the progress that she's made so far.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And anybody else who want to come and be a part of the team, let us know.
Come on.
Talk to us. Let us know. If you
Click
have
that
any
volunteer button.
right,
Yeah.
if you have any ideas, the one thing about Crystal, she is very flexible.
And
And
I'm open to ideas. I love good ideas.
right. So everything is not her way, her way, her way. Even though she's the candidate, she still is very open to other people's ideas and stuff like that. Hey, this is what push campaigns
That's
forward.
right.
So thank you all for tuning in. Chris and Candace, thank you for always having Crystal's back.
Yes.
Always, 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 always having Crystal's back. And we got to get y'all on the show too.
Absolutely.
When we start talking about these women's issues, we
Yes.
need some female perspective.
And when you go to my web page, what you'll see is a button that you can click to endorse me. If you believe in what we're doing, if you believe in the direction that I'm going in and the things that I want to see happen in District 131 and in Texas, give me your endorsement. That simply means that you're saying, Crystal, I'm standing behind you and I'm with you.
Yes.
You can do that on that page. But Rebecca, as we say every week,
I have to say this one last
I knew she was gonna have one last thing
One
to
last
say,
thing.
and that's fine.
I have to give a big shout out to Prairie View A&M University. They are at the Celebration Bowl
in Atlanta.
in Atlanta, Georgia, playing South Carolina State University. They beat Jackson State last week for the SWAC championship, and today. And the reason I'm giving them a shout out, one, because this is our first bowl game since 1957. That's number one. And number two, graduation is tomorrow at Prairie and University. So a lot of the seniors that's playing in the band, a lot of the seniors that's playing football, they are missing their
Graduation
their,
ceremony.
they're missing their graduation ceremonies. Okay, so they are celebrating two milestones in one,
Wow.
but one of the biggest life milestones they are missing for this bowl game. So that's how important it is. So I want to send big shouts out to PV. I believe we're going to win tomorrow. Shout out to our brand new coach who's been kicking butt and taking names, Tremaine Jackson.
Yay.
So, yay. So I cannot wait to see. If you're watching the game tomorrow, it starts at 12 o'clock. So support our Panthers.
And before we say goodbye, we want to say this. We almost forgot, but we have someone who is a campaign team member who is looking out for us from up above. He was with us the last time. He's not with us this time, but we know he is here, and it's because of him. A lot of the reason that we're here right now. And we want to say thank you to Wayne and Rebecca, as we say every week. We can do it. Go see ya.